Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 with some league racing once again, and this is TSRL Singapore, round 17, I believe. And at the moment, at this stage of the championship, I have a championship lead of 39 points from LCR Leopard and 43 points from SHZ Felipe. 7 races to go, including this one. So it's getting towards the crunch time of this championship, and we arrive at this track, Singapore, which is a track I've always, for some reason, really enjoyed and seemed to have quite good results and some very, very good pace. It's actually one of my favourite tracks on the game itself. And we've got the full qualifying format, of course. Managed to get through Q1 actually quite nervously at the end. I only did one lap because I wanted to make sure I had one set of softs for the race, because safety cars are quite prone around this circuit. But you really have to qualify on the medium tyre, which is why we're using it in Q2, and we initially did quite a decent lap for the Q2 grip that's normally available, and we managed to get through to Q3 quite comfortably in P5 on the medium tyres. But you can see people at Leopard and Felipe are also going quite quickly here. So this is my first lap that I did, and it is actually invalidated. But I decided to complete it because I really wanted a delta for the last lap. And again, I could have abandoned it and gone in and gone for another 2 laps, but I wanted to keep that fresh, soft compound tyres for the race just in case, which might prove to be quite useful, you may find. But coming on to the start, my fastest lap in the session here, I had that delta for 32.9. A 32.3 is my PB, so I knew there was a lot more time on the table. And so far, this first sector, as you're about to hear as I exit this corner, was a very, very good one, as I just mentioned there. Coming through this first sector, it's going to be a 25.7, which is really, really strong. But this corner, you have to hook the inside, and from being the 10th up, we have gone to a 10th down. So we've lost 2 tenths pretty much going through that corner. Another moment of oversteer on the exit, and this lap was looking so good, but now we're over a 10th down when we should be a 10th up, 2 tenths difference. Going through to here, we do this pretty nicely. For the right, wasn't that aggressive on the inside because I just didn't want to invalidate. Going through this corner on my previous lap, that's where I went in deep, so you can see the delta gone from 2 tenths to now about half a tenth difference, or half a hundredth, difference here. Going into this corner, trying to get a good exit here, and now we've gone back into the green, so it just shows how much more potential there was in this lap. But I knew now that I just had to throw everything. Track position is so crucial, and if I need to do a PB last sector, this is the moment where I do it, and I can confirm this was my fastest last sector that I have ever done. I don't think I could have really done this any better. Took a risk on that last corner, on penultimate corner. Now again into this last corner again, and we've made up so much time now, and it's a 32.7, which puts me P3 provisionally. Could have been
so much faster,
but then will push me back down, as you can see, to P4. But less than 2 tenths off pole, and I think we had so much. We made quite a couple big mistakes on that lap as well. With a 32.3 PB, I think we could have had pole, but that doesn't matter. You need to do it when it counts. It really does not matter what you do in practice. That's the pressure of league racing, and that's what separates the really good from the best, is delivering it when it counts. But overall this season, in qualifying, our average qualifying position has actually been P3, so it hasn't really been too bad. But that is not good for the confidence.
That's what you want to do.
Spinning on your formation lap is not good for the confidence at all. But the crucial thing is that we are ahead of LCR Leopard, my main championship rival here. So coming up to start, for the start lights here, you'll be able to see I don't actually have it on my screen. I have to look at the actual lights because there was a glitch where I couldn't see it. So as the lights go out now, it's crucial that I get a good start under-fueling the car just to protect the tyre temperatures, as it's about to be 3 wide going into here, and you can see making a little bit of contact with the Ferrari of Ron here, who decided to try and go down the middle like I did in the Monday League in WOR, trying to make it 3 wide. But we have maintained our position. Dominic is ahead of us in the Renault, and I know he is someone who very much likes to defend and attack and uses ERS at all costs here. So if I could get ahead of him, that would be so beneficial, making a little bit of contact try and leave him well, I was going to say a bit of room, but you have to be aggressive around the track. So I try and go around the outside, but was hitting the wall here, and at the last minute I decided to back out of that, because if I got damaged there, I learnt that from 4 days previous. If you get damaged, then your race is pretty much over. It is so hard to recover from there. And SSH Felipe, although I'm ahead of Leopard, my main rival, he is not that far behind. Well, not that far, but we have a comfortable gap in the championship, but it's important to maintain the consistency. And if he gets a big result and I get a poor result, if I damage, then the championship can turn so quickly. So I was always in mind of that, and I think you will see throughout this whole race, I'm driving really quite a lot with the championship in mind. I was focused on the race, but when I was making moves and stuff like that, I did think that you have to be consistent rather than just trying to go for all guns and glory here. But Leopard is behind me, Felipe in P2, and right now we are just settling down into the rhythm of the race. It's very hard to overtake around this track, and it's incredibly hard to regain your ERS, so you have to really commit wisely whenever you want to use it, as we do set the fastest lap of the race as well, 38.9, I think, if I read that correctly. But yeah, going to the rim very nicely and just calming down the nerves, and everything was all good at this stage. I knew it was going to be very hard to overtake, especially with the DRS and everything. So you can see, look, we're going on the DRS and we're not really gaining anything at all. We're using quite a high downforce, so as I said, you really have to be careful, because if you use all your ERS and then you lose the DRS on someone ahead of you, you're going to be an absolute sitting duck on this straight. So I was very mindful of that here. So we're moving on to lap 8. Leopard has actually pitted the lap before, so he's gone for a bold undercut. So I was actually going to pit this lap, but the safety car then comes out, which has actually helped me an absolute treat, because that means Leopard is going to go so slow in the in-lap, and we effectively are going to have a free pit stop. So Leopard, I think there was a chance he could undercut. I think it would have been still quite difficult, but now he is never going to undercut this. We've got the safety car, so we're going to pit for the hards, and that's really good for our strategy as well. People like JQB starting on the hards, this is not good for them, so we don't have to pit again after this. It's going to be quite comfortable to the end of this race. So we're just trying to have a smooth pit stop as we get held ever so slightly here. Dominic has actually jumped Felipe, so my other championship rival is actually just ahead of me now as well. And Dominic actually has a 5-second time penalty. I believe that is for going into the pits a little bit too quickly. And you can see Leopard hasn't undercutted us at all, and he's actually been undercutted by his own teammate Perondi. So we have a good few cars between myself and him, as now we're just about to try and restart very nicely. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying here, oh, you're leaving such a big gap, but around this track it's so hard to overtake, and you really don't want to be doing dirty air. You can see I'm about over a second behind, but you'll see in a few corners of how quickly I catch up, and I'm already back in a second, because the dirty air of the cars ahead, it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. So I knew I wasn't going to get overtaken. I just didn't want to risk anything whatsoever, and I'm just going to try and save my fuel, or just try and preserve the fuel and keep my ERS as much as possible, because there are some hard runners now. The hard runners who started this race in them, they haven't pitted, so they're still out. So you can see you've got people like Clenzo, Jam Pancakes and JKB, who would have been a lot more of a threat at the end of the race, but now with the safety car bunching everyone up again and giving us a free pit stop, it's going to be very difficult for them. So they really do need to get a move on, as you can see Felipe is being quite aggressive, because in this championship he doesn't really have anything to lose. He really needs to do it, but for me, I've got absolutely everything to lose here. So he gets the move done quite aggressively on Clenzo. So now we're going to go behind him, and let's just see if I can get past. But the problem is, I think the next lap DRS is actually enabled, so he is going to be somewhat protected from me as Ron here tries to go down my inside on that corner. But with DRS enabled next lap, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to make that overtake, as Leopard has retired from the race. So we're into P9, and I think we're about a net P4 at this stage, with Smasher, Felipe, Dominic ahead of me. So still maintaining our position where we were on the grid. You can see there's a bit of a train here, and ahead of that train is actually Jam Pancakes, who doesn't want to let anyone pass, which he's fully entitled to do. He does not have to let anyone pass, and you can see he's being very, very aggressive here. Dominic trying to make the overtake, and the thing is, these guys, they can take these risks, but for me, I cannot afford any damage. I cannot afford any damage because Leopard, he's only a couple of cars behind now. He's got Ron here between myself and him.
I hate this part where people haven't pitted.
And yeah, this is the part which is quite scary because anyone could just brake very, very early, and they're on different wear tyres and everything as well. And I've got cars behind me who want to attack me. They know that I'm probably not going to go, well, not super aggressive or anything at all. So this is a bit of a sticky situation to be in. And you can see Dominic has actually got past Felipe, and he has the 5-second penalty as well. So if he can get away, he could probably create enough of a gap where that penalty doesn't actually matter anymore. So I was definitely keeping that in mind, but at the same time, just trying to drive a smart race as well. The championship's still 7 races to go. There's still a lot of points on the table, but I cannot afford to be getting no points or very low points. My championship rivals gain that momentum. Just avoiding them gaining that momentum is such a key thing in the championship. You don't have to win every race. You just have to beat your competition every race. That's the key thing in the championship here. And see, Felipe Jam Pancakes has made a bit of a mistake. I think Pancakes isn't going to get the DRS on Dominic. So Felipe, as we go a little bit deep here, but Felipe is actually going to make the overtake on Pancakes. Pancakes goes very, very defensive. I don't think I would have got Cleanso because he had DRS regardless. You can see Pancakes being very, very aggressive. Felipe making the overtake actually completely off track. Pancakes is still trying to stick himself in there. Although he's still got to pit. He's got to pit for the medium tyres. But the thing is, around this track, you never know when a safety car is going to come out. So he's going to fight absolutely tooth and nail here. And you can see after a lap how quickly Felipe has pulled away. But the problem for me is I'm in this 3-man DRS train once again, and I'm not going to be as aggressive as Dominic and Felipe. I just can't afford to at this stage. But I did think I do need to get a little bit of a move on here now, so I do have to take a little bit of a risk at this point. So I can see the red light flashing Cleanso. That's a good indicator that he's very, very low on the EOS. So we're going to just pull out and go for this move. We have to commit to this move. Absolutely commit. Quite an aggressive move, pushing him out wide, and that was borderline, but there was no penalty for that, and I had to get that move done. I have to get a move on if I want to potentially get a place on Dominic, because Felipe is catching him pretty quickly. We're coming up behind Jam Pancakes now, and I could tell his EOS was quite low because his red light was flashing at some points in the race, but now he's actually going to get the DRS from Clone Troop, who is the AI who has retired. So I wanted to overtake him here, and I think if he didn't have DRS, this would have been quite a good overtake because he is going red. So I'm still going to try. I'm actually going to take up a bit of a risk here. Brake, and you can see how late he is broken. He's actually overshot the corner ever so slightly. I knew this was going to be a very, very difficult task, and again, I just can't afford to have this damage. And I know this may seem like a bad decision, but I think for me, I was quite happy I made this decision because it's just, for me, it's just smart driving, and I'd rather not lose everything than gain just a couple of points. And Felipe is quite a way up the road as well, so I thought to myself, at this stage of the race, it's going to be very, very hard to catch up anyway, so I don't need to be taking any massive risk against Pancakes here. And you can see his red light is flashing, so I was confident on the next lap that I would be able to have the good opportunity to overtake. Ron here is still right behind me. Perondi has actually got ahead of Leopard, so I don't know what's happened to Leopard there. I think he might have made a mistake, so that's still good, but I am at this stage still increasing my championship lead, so that again is why I'm really kind of taking my time here. There's no real need to do anything crazy. I'm still extending the championship. Jam Pancakes still continues as well, so I was expecting him to really, really pit the stage, as JKB and a few other people have actually pitted, so we're into P5. It's only Pancakes who has not pitted. You can see the red light is flashing more. I try and get a good exit, but I just get a poor exit there. which puts me under a little bit of pressure actually from the Ferrari. And if I did get a poor exit, I think it could have been a good move. But again, with the way Felipe is up the road and Dominic, I wasn't really in too much of a rush. As Pancakes now does eventually pits, and at the end of lap 18, we'll be able to see the gap to Felipe and Dominic. It's 6.8 or 9 to Dominic and 5.6 to Felipe. So we will keep an eye on that gap. And now I've got some free air to really push as hard as I can. So coming towards the end of lap 22, we've actually closed in on those guys. Felipe by 3 or 4 attempts, but as we look into the wall, it's actually Dominic who is into the wall. The Renault has crashed out. Dumb. He has just made a mistake, hitting the inside wall, and that is a DNF from him, and that has promoted us up into a P3 position. So we are in a podium position. We were catching Felipe a couple attempts of that. We were closing in ever so slightly, but it is only a virtual safety car here, so we have to again just make sure we're cautious, make sure we don't get a 5-second or a drive-through if we're going too fast. You can see the delta, how quickly it changes, and now it goes. So lost a little bit of time, but it's better for me to lose 2 or 3 attempts than lose 10 seconds at this stage in the gap here. And again, on lap 24, we were starting to close it in ever so slightly again, but now a full safety car has come out, a full-blown safety car come out, and now we've got a decision to make on what we do. And you can see I've decided to be quite proactive. I've actually put on these soft tyres, and that's where the benefit of these fresh softs. I saved a fresh soft set of tyres, which some people didn't do. Felipe has actually continued.
I know,
as well. Felipe has continued. Jakey B,
as well.
I think he's on relatively fresh mediums. Smasher pits as well. I didn't know if this was going to be a good decision, but I decided to pit because we were quite a way ahead of most people.
2 positions.
And coming out the pits here, we've come out in P6, but the 2 cars ahead of me, they are on much older, slower compound tyres, and they both have penalties as well. So in reality, I haven't actually lost, as Leopard has now got a penalty as well. This could be a really, really good decision, and at the time, I wasn't 100% sure, but I wanted to use these fresh soft tyres, which I know can only last really 4 to 5 laps at their peak, but I felt they were going to be so much faster. And Felipe, I was amazed he didn't pit. I was absolutely amazed that he didn't pit. He's decided to stay out on the hard tyres, which I think could really come back to bite. But now I've got Leopard, my main championship rival, right behind me, but he didn't have a set of fresh softs, so he's had to go on the mediums, but he does have a time penalty anyway, and I don't think I even had a warning at this stage. But coming through turn 3, we just get so much more traction than Cleanser, not even using the overtake button. That just shows how powerful the softs are at this stage. And now we don't have DRS at the moment, but again, just with the pure grip of these soft tyres, we're going to make quite an easy overtake. And now we've already gone back into P4, and now we are on fresh set of tyres, but Smasher is on a fresh set of mediums though. I think the same with JKB, but Felipe out in the lead. He is still on those old hard tyres, which they will be decent-ish at the end, but compared to mediums and softs, they are going to be so much slower at this stage here. So we have already dropped out of a second of Oates behind VSR Oates and Clento, just showing again how much faster these tyres are. And I've got a lot of fuel and a lot of ERS to play with, so we're in a position to win this race. We are in an absolute position to win this race. But again, I was saying to myself in my head that I could see the win, but don't throw it away either. Do not throw it away. And the main person I really need to beat in here is Felipe, who is leading this race. I can't really afford for him to win this race and me stay here. If I can beat him and Leopard, then that would be an absolutely amazing result and really strengthen my grip on this championship here. So we're coming into the last 3 laps of this race here. No DRS I don't think is available because of the safety car. As Smasher goes very, very wide here, we're not going to get quite enough undercut. And despite being on fresh soft tyres, they're only at their peak for 3 or 4 laps. So it's really this lap and the next lap we're at the peak. And then the mediums really probably, even at this stage now, are probably going to be quite similar to performance, as Felipe is going very, very aggressive here. JKB couldn't get past and Smasher now going through this corner. JKB is actually ghosted and he is spun round, gone into the wall. He is out of this race. He is ghosted, but on his screen he was taken out by Smasher, and there was nothing anyone could do here, and that's promoted me into P3, taking out JKB, who again was not a million miles behind in this championship either. And now it's going to be a three-way fight for the lead of this race, but you can see how much more grip we both have than Felipe. Felipe is really going to be struggling at this stage. Smasher is trying to go side by side, and he can take risks. He's not in this championship fight. He can take the risk. He tries to go for the switchback, going side by side here. I'm just trying to be a spectator, just to try and pick up the pieces. Going into left-hander, we almost made contact with Felipe, and again, I can't afford to get damage here. I cannot afford, because VRT Square and even Leopard, if I get damaged, they could catch me very, very quickly, and you could already see the gap that Smasher is actually putting away here. So I almost lose the car, almost getting damaged here, and that again just shows how quickly things can change. So DRS is now enabled. I think Smasher is already out of that second window, so coming through here, it's really crucial that I try and get a good exit, but we lock up ever so slightly. And coming into here, I can see Smasher was already a second away, and I thought to myself, right here, right now, it's going to be hard to catch him. Even if I overtake Felipe as his red light comes on. I decided to play it safe here. I thought to myself, if I got past Felipe, then it's still going to be very, very hard to get after Smasher. And I just thought to myself, just compose yourself, just get the points for the championship. And on a different day, I would have risked everything for that. But if I didn't make the overtake on Felipe and ran all my ERS out, then there would have been no opportunity to really get him, because it's so hard to overtake around track. So right here now, I'm just following him round. I'm just trying to save all the ERS as much as possible. You can see that he is low in ERS. I can see it red light flashing, and you can see even at this stage, it's going to be so hard. And even if I got past Felipe, the medium and soft tires would have been on quite an equal pace at this stage of the race. So it would have been really hard going into here. Felipe almost breaks so slightly, so I have to anticipate that. And you can see Leopard is now right behind me as well. So again, just shows how much slower the hard tyres are at this stage of the race. And Smasher is gone. He is gone, completely gone down the road here. So it is all about overtaking my championship rival. I'm in between both of my championship rivals right now, and you can see he's being very, very defensive, but we are just going to make sure we get a good exit coming onto this straight, and it should hopefully be quite a simple pass. Okay, coming up here, we are very, very close here, using a little bit of the ERS, just making sure we get a good exit, let him have this corner, and we get a very, very nice exit going on the DRS using the rich mix, and he should really have nothing to defend with, and we get the move done into P2, and that is huge for this championship. That is massive for this championship with 6 races to go after this. That is absolutely massive. Smasher, I don't think there's anything I can do about him here on this lap unless I get within 3 seconds. But as I said, and you will be able to see, the mediums were quite on an equal pace. I didn't even gain anything on that lap. He actually sets the fastest lap of the race, so he had a lot of ERS in reserve
GG.
as well.
Nice.
Which I think in the end
I was just thinking of
makes me quite satisfied with the decision I made, and that has extended my championship lead to 46 points, which is a pretty nice gap to have with 6 races to go. And yeah, I wanted the win, of course. I'm disappointed that I didn't get the win, of course, but I think in terms of the championship and how things were looking at a certain point, I will take that all day. And sometimes you just got to think of those things rather than go for all guns of glory. So thank you so much for the support of my channel. It's been absolutely incredible. I cannot thank you guys enough. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We are at Sochi for TSRL for round 18. Hope to see you there and catch you soon. Peace.